What's up, you guys? Welcome back to this week's One Piece chapter review, and in this week's chapter 907, shit is hitting the fan on several different fronts. For starters, we have Big Mom and Kaido pretty much debating who's going to take down Luffy first, and Big Mom mentioning a life debt that Kaido owes to her, and them being friendly just like old times. And you have the world government pretty much spying on them like the NSA, debating whether they should intercept Big Mom and prevent her from meeting up with Kaido. Now, on the whole Kaido and Big Mom taking out Luffy debate, I think Big Mom has a lot more to lose from a reputation standpoint, and in the One Piece universe, especially as a Yonko, reputation is a lot. Reputation is what prevents rookies and people like Luffy from just coming up in your territory and causing a shit ton of trouble and just throwing dirt on your name. And you have to uphold your reputation in the One Piece universe, or other Yonko are going to take you down, or other people are going to take you down. Sure, Kaido lost his Smile army and everything like that. You know, it's incomplete, but it's not a complete setback as far as reputation goes that Big Mom had. Luffy took out 2 of her sweet commanders, and Germa 66 completely rejected the marriage offer. They caused a lot of damage in Big Mom's territory, not to mention an assassination attempt on her life. That is a huge slap in the face for her, and not to mention Morgan's article pretty much proclaiming Luffy to be the 5th Yonko. She has a lot more to lose from a reputation standpoint than Kaido does, and she has a lot more of a bone to pick with Luffy than Kaido does. As for the world government intercepting Big Mom, they couldn't even stop Shanks and Whitebeard from meeting, let alone Shanks from fighting Kaido for a brief little bit. So I don't really think they have any type of power in this matter. Not to mention the fact that Fujitora is not allowed at any marine ports or anything like that. So you're already down 1 admiral. And you have Green Bull, whose power and ability at this point is unknown, but is supposed to be on par with Fujitora. So you only really have one person here, and that's Borsalino. And I really don't think Borsalino on his own can overwhelm or prevent Kaido and Big Mom from meeting. Now we're going back to Reverie. Shirahoshi is pretty much arrested on sight and is almost made into a slave. And are we really that surprised, though? Because, you know, this is the same celestial dragon, Sharlos, that spent 500 million berry on a mermaid just to put it in a tank to see it outrun Piranha. Now you put a gigantic mermaid princess in Reverie, full of a whole bunch of celestial dragons who are titled and privileged and just, you know, pretentious and don't have any sense of right and wrong. Of course, one of them is going to look at her and say, I want her as a slave. It was just bound to happen. Also, I said this in my last video. When I saw that Sabo and Karasu were in Reverie, that I believe that a whole bunch of other revolutionaries are in Reverie. But I also said on the flip side that if Cypher Pole Zero is not in Reverie, if they are not all around Reverie and they're like balls deep, I would be angry, because you don't just let all these people come into Reverie, come into the realm of celestial dragons, you know, and not have Cypher Pole Zero there just monitoring everything, and to see Rob Lucy kind of just be there and protect Sharlos. It just proved my point. To have all of Cypher Pole Zero there, it just shows me that they are balls deep in Reverie, and they are protecting the world nobles and pretty much keeping the order of things and making sure nothing really goes out of place. But that also means it's going to be so much more interesting when the revolutionaries do strike at Reverie, because this means we're going to be seeing a Rob Lucy versus Sabo 2, but this time canon, and this time in the manga. As for the Oath of the Empty Throne, I can understand why they have that oath. It's pretty much to keep all the celestial dragons in line. And then on top of celestial dragons, you have the 5 elders. But apparently there is one king that does sit on the throne, that does rule the entire world. But who that is, we don't know as of yet. We don't know what the lineage is. Also, as far as Shirahoshi, we see Misagard, the same celestial dragon that was once on Fisherman Island, where Otohime had protected him and reformed him and everything. He came back to save Shirahoshi from being a slave. And so I think it's a nice way to go back to everything, because I was really starting to agree with King Neptune, and I still do agree with King Neptune, and I still do agree to some extent with a lot of Fisher Tiger's views that humans and fishmen or merman and all that, they just, at least on the grander sense of politics, can't interact. As long as the celestial dragon system exists, and as long as people like the celestial dragons exist, then I don't really think that Fisherman Island or different species outside of that can really be safe around celestial dragons, who really don't see them as equals, whether they be kings or princes or princesses or queens of other countries or not. They see them more as commodities and items and rarities to add to a collection, like Big Mom has in her own territory. Now, as for the Oath of the Empty Throne, a person like Stelly, I don't know why they keep throwing Stelly in our faces. They threw him in our faces in Sabo's flashback. They threw him in our faces after the time skip. They are showing us a lot of screen time for Stelly. I don't want to believe that Stelly has a more significant role to play here, and I don't want him to be like an in-game important villain, because Stelly is just a dick. He's an idiot. He's overly ambitious, and I can't see him sitting on the throne of all thrones at this point. I can't. Then again, we have seen a celestial dragon be reformed. And on top of that, I'm also interested by the fact that he has Don Quixote in his name. So, is he one of the celestial dragons that belong to Don Quixote's family? I mean, to Doflamingo's family, and he was considered exempt? Because if we remember correctly, Doflamingo's father gave up his entire family celestial dragon status, and when they tried to go back into Maryjoy, the celestial dragons rejected them, because once you revoke your status, you cannot, reinstate it. You're a human pretty much for life at that point. Now, is he a part of Doflamingo's family or not? And could he possibly come in, if he is part of Doflamingo's family, could he possibly come in handy later on and probably rescue Doflamingo from Impel Down, or give an order to release Doflamingo or something like that? There's a lot of questions I have for that part. Another thing that we see interesting towards the end of the chapter is that, if I am seeing it correctly, Shanks is at Maryjoy talking with the 5 elders, and I believe it to be about Luffy. Now, why a Yonko is at Maryjoy is beyond me. What he has to talk to the 5 elders about Luffy for is beyond me. There's a lot of things going on in this chapter that is just, racing miles an hour here. You have the revolutionaries at Maryjoy. You have Cypher Pole at Maryjoy. You have Celestial Dragon on Celestial Dragon violence. You have the Oath of the Empty Throne. You have the 5 elders and Shanks. You have Big Mom and Kaido. And then you also have talk at the Marine HQ of how Garp became the hero of the Marines, and it revolves around a past conflict with Big Mom and Kaido. Now, I don't know what Garp did, but also there's another thing to be considered as well, is the samurai of Wano country. And they're being the main reason that the world government doesn't step in, because they're not technically considered allies of the world government, and their military force and their strength so far is unknown. So that's something I really want to look into the future, to see how strong these samurai from Wano country are. And also, what did Garp do in the past that actually made him a hero of the Marines, involving Big Mom and Kaido? And did it have anything to do with the life that Big Mom is talking about with Kaido? But this is VM. I stayed up really early and I woke up really early just so I can get this video out. So what are your predictions for the next chapter? What do you think of the events that happened this chapter? In my opinion, I really hope that there is, with Rob Lucy being a part of Cypher Pole Zero, I don't know. When I read Rob Lucy's comments about Celestial Dragons and how they don't need to make sense, and because they're gods, they can do pretty much whatever they want, I don't really buy into that. I personally don't buy into Rob Lucy's logic, and I don't think he buys into it himself. I mean, Rob Lucy has worked for incompetent, privileged pricks before. He's worked for Spandam, and he pretty much vowed to kill Spandam. He knows how the world government works, and I believe that at this point, I don't think Rob Lucy is working with the Celestial Dragons out of his own passion or love for them. I think he's working for them out of mere survival at this point. And I think he could be converted into a potential revolutionary. We have to remember, he does have a sense of justice, and it's dark justice. And although I don't think it lines up exactly with what the revolutionaries are throwing out there, I do think that he, deep down, is disgusted by the Celestial Dragons and the world government, and he could be turned into a potential ally, but who knows? This is VM. Like, comment, share, subscribe. What are your theories? Who do you think will win between Rob Lucy and Sabo in a rematch? And, you know, what other fights that you want to see go down in the next few chapters? Bye.